In a world of wrestling podcasts, this is certainly one of the newest. Thomas S.K. Green and Prince Moxley Lopez bring you Whacked Out Wrestling. Hello, everybody. This is Whacked Out, and I'll probably be taking the lead today because Prince Moxley Lopez is under the weather. I am, of course, Thomas S.K. Green, and let's get the infos going. But before we do, can I mention how great it is about this Evolution pay-per-view? WWE finally doing an all-women pay-per-view. You'll get that info a lot tonight because that was pretty much most of Raw and SmackDown. And I'm shocked if it wasn't NXT too.
I do feel like shit, by the way, just so I'm going to pretty much, you have the floor, I will, but yeah, it's awesome. We've been waiting for this and to some degree clamoring for it for quite some time. And I'm glad they've pulled the trigger and they're gonna do it. I'm like, cool. Like, I will definitely be watching.
Yep, and really that's the big thing on this one, that great moment out time all women's pay-per-view just to try it. I've been steadfast wrestling a women's show entirely, so it just getting this is just interesting, and it's ready to see if it can happen.
Right. And of course, there will be some rebuttal from, Shimmer and TNA has done a few, but this is WWE we're talking about. This is
and even with it, Shimmer doesn't really have a fixed great women, but they don't have and they
they're
at the same time TNA outside of the company indie women to beef up the roster for those shows.
Yeah.
But WWE is able to do this with their own roster. And they've announced that people like Lita and Beth Phoenix and the Bellas will be there, but by and large, there's a world of difference between bringing in someone like Trish Stratus or Lita, who's basically under contract anyway, and bringing in someone like, say, cheerleader Melissa, like TNA would do with their pay-per-views.
Right. They'll probably bring in some, I would think, kind of like they do with the Mae Young Classic. But
but I doubt that they're going to be doing that many unless they make the Mae Young Classic finals, because really, WWE doesn't need to.
Right. That's what I was getting at. That they already have the roster to fill out a pay-per-view card amongst the three brands. They can fill that out with just a couple of
3 brands. It's going to be 4 brands because they announced on the press release that NXT UK is also involved in it.
True. I put the NXT UK under the NXT umbrella, but technically 4 different brands. There's plenty of talent to go around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and WWE's hired so much good indie female talent that they don't really need to hire a lot of Shimmer wrestlers. They already hired a lot of great Shimmer wrestlers. And so that really is the biggest thing for the big announcement for the show. And that leads to the questions of, will this debut by being in the crowd for it? And is the women's tag titles going to happen that the rumor was going to? And if so, there would be that eternal question. The only real women's tag team that they have right now is the Iconics. So if you're going to bring women's tag titles, do you make the women's tag titles the finals for Evolution in Long Island, or do you have it be at the Australia Super Show a couple weeks before, so the people of Australia can see two of their own win the big one.
Yeah, that I don't know about. And I know, I think it was Tuesday that Steph talked about the tag team belt, because going in, there was speculation, is it going to be all women's pay-per-view? Or is she unveiling women's tag?
Yeah. And I think there
That
was
what?
speculation it was both too. So
Yeah, from all aspects. What would you want? That's because if you did say you do introduce women's tag titles and the Aussies win in Australia, that's going to be a huge pop.
Yeah.
And their heels. I don't know.
Yeah. But at least we've seen from NXT in Australia, whenever the Aussies get their pop, they say, "We're from Orlando now,"
Yeah,
and it's a simple thing there. So
yeah.
at least they
They
know
could,
what to do to get that one.
they could downplay it, but
Yeah.
Australia would pop for their own being the
Yeah.
inaugural.
Yeah, especially since the first only one Australian person's ever held a title in WWE, and that's Nia Jax. So
I could see them doing something like a quarterfinals at the Aussie show, and then the finals at Evolution.
but do those ones because we kind of know that the Bella Twins will be in this one, and you kind of have to save the finals of Bellas versus Iconics for Evolution because
Oh
the Bellas
God,
badly want to work them.
God.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm not a Bellas fan. Like,
No problem. I'll just
I
I'll keep going with the show while you if you have the feelings on those ones. So continuing on this one, you had Finn Balor and Chad Gable. And did they mention how great this Evolution pay-per-view is? Be warned because this is going to happen all night long.
yes.
The episode of Raw failed the Nega Bechdel test. We all know about the Bechdel test of two named female characters on a show have one conversation that is not about a man. This did not do well for this one because anytime you had two named male competitors who had a conversation that had nothing to do with the Evolution pay-per-view, the only segment of the night that did not that passed that test was the Authors of Pain versus Titus World Slide. Credit to Morris on that one. Gimmick for it. That was the only segment of the night that had nothing to do with the Evolution pay-per-view. And even that didn't work because you had Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews saying, "You should follow Titus because they'll make you a good person."
Yeah.
Authors of Pain are monster heels. They don't care about being good people.
I muted parts of that just who was delivering, and I like Uho Nation, aka Apollo Crews. Like them. They need to do something more with them. Love Titus O'Neil outside of doing promo work. Like he good guy. The whole they when everybody had a microphone, like, oh no.
Yeah.
Mondays when I started feeling bad and like my head's already killing me. Let me mute this for a minute.
Yeah.
But
and
that was the
was
only segment that Evolution wasn't brought up.
Yeah. And that was the weakness because when you're giving Apollo Crews a live mic, it's already going to be dire because that's the reason Titus Worldwide is so good. Titus is a very charismatic human being. Apollo Crews is a very good wrestler, but he has no charisma. and Dana Brooke is very pretty, and she makes them look cool. That's all you need for a good tag team, really.
Yeah, I agree there.
But then you have, after Finn Balor and Chad Gable talk about how cool it is that Evolution happens, Constable Baron Corbin shows Finn Balor that he has a special playhouse for himself as a dressing room. No news of whether Constable Baron Corbin is interested in Evolution. So that happened for the most part. And then we had a good match between Finn Balor and Drew McIntyre later in the card, but we have no clue whether Drew McIntyre cared about Evolution. So it went to a tag team match playa. Seth Rollins and Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre over who cared more about the Evolution pay-per-view.
See, that was weird as shit to me because my internet paused for a little bit before when it was still a singles match, and it came back, and all of a sudden it's a tag match with, like, what the hell?
Yeah, and that was really the problem on it. So, but most of the stuff that you saw on Raw was pretty much moot because it was all about the pay-per-view being announced. That was pretty much all you needed. And then from there, you have it's bouncing around on this one because it's all about the Evolution pay-per-view. And you have
Right.
Sasha Banks and Bayley discussing how they become renewed friends in the last week and get their own jobber squash to help on this one. No news about how Bayley and Sasha Banks became friends on it, but I'm assuming that just means that we were right and it was sisterly,
Right.
and we are not going to get hot lesbian action.
No, that was never the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you know. I meant to pose this question earlier in the week to anybody. Um, I'm assuming there were local jobbers. Anybody out there know
Samantha
who?
Simon and Karen Lundy.
Okay,
Yep. So
so
it just was what it was. Jobber squash, no need to worry about it.
okay,
And then we have Raw Tag Team titles over who cares more about it, as the leaders of Worlds took on the B Team. The B Team proved they care more about the Evolution pay-per-view by defeating the Hardys on this one, which is surprising that they would care more because we all know how woke Matt Hardy is.
I now have no idea where that's leading
Yeah,
with the Bray. I appreciate the B team getting the push they've been getting.
yeah,
To
yeah.
I mean,
And
they're
honestly, it's
fine.
just weird because really, this is what was going to happen because in a WWE system, Matt Hardy couldn't be unleashed and be as insane as he was because WWE is just too good for that. And so he ends up just a comedy guy, and he's officially devolved Bray into a comedy guy. So, and speaking of comedy guys getting devolved from where their big ones, we have Braun Strowman, who won't let you forget that he also cares about the Evolution pay-per-view and getting help from Jinder Mahal to control his temper. And
That,
this was one of the problems with everybody talking about how they care about the Evolution pay-per-view because it's Braun Strowman. He's a monster among men. He's a force of nature. We don't have to see him talk about the PR on this one. I will
yeah,
give Strowman the plus that he keeps up the storyline that Strowman and Alexa Bliss have that will they or won't they going on, and Strowman made it clear he cared about it for Alexa, and that's a
that,
good thing because we just
yeah,
need
that
more faces and heels who are just friends with each other.
right. That was the saving grace, I think, out of all the weirdly timed. You have this big match coming up, or what do you think about this? Um, and when you have Braun the monster among men and that backstage promo, and he ended it with the Alexa Bliss stuff. My mixed match challenge partner, Alexa Bliss. Like that was a saving. Like okay,
Yeah. Yeah, because you can at least see why they would care about it if it's about those things instead of just it's PR for the sake of PR.
right.
And right after that, we get the first of the SummerSlam matches to help on this, as Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman have a rematch. And that's a problem because you just had a cage match that finished in a brutal spot. Everybody got their win. Braun Strowman destroyed Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens gets to have Shania Twain sing for him. Everybody wins. Why are you going back to SummerSlam for that? That's the type of match you close out and go for something new.
To backtrack just a little bit with the Seth and Dolph stuff, we also find out that that's going to be a rematch at SummerSlam.
Yeah. And that's really the problem. They took everything original for the pay-per-view, and they decided to give us same old shit on Raw.
Yeah. Before the 30-minute Iron Man match, the Seth and Dolph had, off the top of my noggin, a 32-minute match on Raw.
Yeah.
And we're getting Seth and Dolph again.
Yeah. I have no problem with WWE making sure that the people of Pittsburgh wasted their time at Extreme Rules, but this is a problem that you're wasting everybody else's time too.
Right. Like, okay, we're going to stick the middle finger to the Pittsburgh crowd, but hey, at the same time, you're also sticking the middle finger to the other millions of people that watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at least they're doing some things where they announce that 205 Live will have a match, and it's relatively original of Drew Gulak and Cedric Alexander, so original for the show. And then we have the women's matches where Natalya fought Mickie James, and I assume both of them care about the Evolution pay-per-view, and Ember Moon took on Liv Morgan, and I assume both of them care about the Evolution pay-per-view. No news of whether they care about Greatest Royal Rumble, though. And both matches were they were what they were, whatever.
Yeah. Nothing too down outish.
Yeah. Then you had Tyler Breeze getting squashed by Mojo Rawley on the build-up for Mojo to become a threat again, and if Breezango is pretty much injured due to Fandango's injury, go with it. Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. It was perfectly solid, unspectacular, was what it was. And it's better than sending Tyler Breeze to 205 Live hell.
Right. And it's given Tyler TV time, and it's also, I said last week, I'm little by little getting into the Mojo Hill aspect of it, where it's maybe not the best thing in the world, but it's working. It's better than the hype crap that we went through. And I like Mojo. I even like that character, but at least it's a different dynamic to some kind of character development.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Elias trying to get segments for his debut album, which in itself is a problem because Elias is now a top 10 star on the iTunes charts with his album. And this is the whole problem with WWE taking gimmicks that are supposed to be ironic and making them serious because they merchandise everything.
Right. I will say that was one of the funniest ongoing things. Like either segments were talking about Evolution or a segment featured Elias trying to play a song and he'd always get interrupted.
Yeah.
Like that, one of the throughout the night kind of things. That was, but every time they did it, the bottom left-hand corner, last debut album, find it on iTunes, Spotify, like every single time they were milking it, if you will.
Yeah. But honestly, like I said, that's the problem. It was the problem when Jillian Hall put out her Christmas album, because it was a case where Jillian Hall was supposed to be mocking Brooke Hogan for not being able to sing well, and the whole gimmick was that Jillian Hall was a really terrible singer. So they have Jillian Hall put out an album, and it outsells Brooke Hogan's album.
Yeah.
So suddenly Jillian Hall is a very good singer by her sales.
Right.
And it's the same point here. Elias always worked because Full Sail found out people who everyone hates, and they realized everyone hates that douchebag with the acoustic guitar at your school. He learned a couple chords, and all the girls you like think he's Jimi fucking Hendrix. He wears a scarf in the summertime. He thinks he's so great because he can play Wonderwall and can mix it with Boulevard of Broken Dreams. He's the douche with an acoustic guitar. That's what made Elias good. And now Elias Sampson is a literal rock star. That does not fit the gimmick.
It kind of does, because he always gets his, when he was finally able to sing, like, no, you're not good enough for this. He keeps that heat.
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation the other day with a friend that used to be on Cage Side. Like, do you remember like 2015? We were the only two that liked Elias and thought he had potential, and he still does. He hasn't met his ceiling, I don't think, by any stretch. But the whole, like you were saying, like we were both saying, now we all I can hear is myself.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the like you don't now you're advertising him being decent at the guitar and singing, and that just takes away the whole. I literally can't hear anything but myself.
Yeah. Yeah, but that really is the problem on this one, because sometimes these gimmicks work because they're not supposed to be good at it. And by WWE giving them albums, giving them hype on this one, and allowing them, because they're WWE superstars, and a lot of WWE fans will buy anything with a WWE logo on it, and I include myself in that mix, that ends up making them legit. And that legitimacy takes away from their gimmick.
And since when did 4 tracks become an album?
EP, it's perfectly fine for it. So, but it's the same thing. Like in the 1980s, if Mr. Fuji and Don Morocco had their whole gimmick that they were terrible actors and they thought they were great on it, you wouldn't go and say WWE Films Project gives Fuji and Morocco a film role, and suddenly Fuji and Morocco are legitimate actors. Because that would completely kill the gimmick.
Exactly. I don't think this has quite killed his gimmick at all. It was just so. I don't want to use money grab or anything, but it, in a way, it kind of does suit the ego of I'm the biggest rock star. Look, I have an album now.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like it doesn't work on this one, and WWE completely ignored what's best for the company to make a little bit of money and to do something that no one really wanted, even if they thought they did. Speaking of which, we have the main event of SummerSlam as Roman Reigns defeats Bobby Lashley to get a shot at Brock Lesnar. Why?
What was the point of Extreme Rules?
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the problem because I didn't know which darkest timeline I wanted, but at least Lashley would be interesting. At least it would be a fresh face in the scene. Most of all, at least it would be something against the same old shit over and over again. And that's really the problem. We've seen Roman versus Lesnar many times. You're never going to get the fans to cheer him. You're just not going to. More fans would rather Brock Lesnar trash the title than see Roman win it clean. If you're doing this, rip it off like a band-aid. Just end it, give him the title, and let's get on with things. Because you're not going to get the fans to cheer him. So just let them just go with it.
And there's been some come around.
Mm-hmm.
And if they've done this shit for everybody hate Brock Lesnar, so it's working to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But even huge Roman supporters I'm friends with are like, no, not this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, that's the problem because they're trying to serve every master, but they're not pleasing anyone. They're pushing Roman Reigns as the star of the show, which is pleasing this casual fans who love Roman, but they're still making him really whiny about Lesnar so that the people who hate him can boo him. And that's not good. You're not making him a better star on this one. You're just making him a whiny protagonist. You're still trying to make sure that Roman looks dominant, but you're also giving him 50-50 bookings so you can tell the smarks, well, we're not going to go all in on him. We're still going to push your favorites, see? And that doesn't work because then the casuals won't galvanize behind him because casual fans always galvanize behind someone who wins all the time and never loses. And you're also not going to convince the smarts for a second because they know better. They know you're not going to push them. They know Roman's the star, and so it won't help please them either.
I'll disagree without going in depth at the moment. Because there are some, like I say, some changes slowly but surely.
Mm-hmm.
His reaction, not only in the live crowd, but social media stuff, like there's still both sides of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like it was, say, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still the case where this 50-50 booking for Roman does him no favors. You're not going to please the smarks who hate him because they know he's too good, and you're not going to get the casual fans to galvanize behind him because they want to galvanize behind a winner.
50-50 booking by default does no one any good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really the problem. If everybody's special, then no one is.
Right.
But those were basically the problems with Raw, where it was pretty much a show to hype up Evolution. And naturally, it had all the benefits for Evolution as naturally everybody who cheered it would be happy about this pay-per-view, and everybody who didn't was proving that, but you're getting women's in my handsome bodybuilders in their underwear grappling with each other.
And are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
Yeah, because that's really the problem. If it's something like Ghostbusters, maybe you could buy the fact that they really didn't do well with that ad campaign, and it was basically really sexist if you think about it, that they went with, yeah, we know this movie sucks, We don't care. If you don't watch this movie, you're a misogynist. You're not a misogynist, are you? Are you? And people saw that coming. And maybe that goes. And maybe with things like the people complaining about the female Doctor Who mutants, maybe you could buy that they cared so much about ethics in video game journalism that they couldn't have a woman as their doctor. And those are bad in itself. Again, here, you're complaining about some of the most gorgeous women on the planet in their underwear grappling with each other because there's not enough handsome men in their underwear grappling with each other. There is a word for that, and as experts would say, you are so far in the closet, you're having adventures in Narnia.
Well, I didn't go that. But I couldn't believe some of the things that I saw read. Like
it's worse because
there was literally what about the men? Where's the all men show?
We just had it with Greatest Royal Rumble in the progressive city of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And so that's really the problem. If you really have a problem with no hot men grappling each other because there's too many hot women grappling with each other, there's no nice way to put it. You have to accept that you are cuckoo for cock-o-puffs.
I don't know about that. It seems like just something so weird about something to complain about.
Yeah. And really, that's the problem, because it's not like they're just doing this just for random things. They've seen over the last 3 years that the women are very popular. The women are very beloved by the fans on it. They love them for their wrestling ability and not just because they want to.
It's not like
they deserve a event.
Oh, I see some TNA. I see some butt cheeks. They've earned. And I don't use that word loosely.
Yeah.
Like they deserve it.
They deserve it. Yeah. And that really is the question, because everything about this event so far is they've earned it. They deserve it. Clap, 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 clap. There's no, this is done just to be progressive. It's being done because it's completely earned.
Yeah, it's warranted.
And that was really the question I had with this poster issue of, sure, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss got the poster. They're all blonde women, but at the same time, on merit, all three of them deserved it.
Is that a legit? The WWE put that out through. I don't think that's going to be the overall poster. Was that just something they put together on social media?
I don't know yet, but honestly, it's still a case where you can't deny any one of the three deserves it on it. Charlotte's the face of SmackDown. Ronda's the biggest star in this thing. Alexa's the face of Raw.
Right. I just didn't know where that graphic came up. Surely that's not the official Evolution poster.
Yeah, ideally I'd have everybody on the main roster on it, but I have said, and I'll fight on that one, that every woman on the main roster should get a match at Evolution, even if it's 30 seconds, even if it's a squash. Every woman on the main roster deserves a chance to have their entrance hit, have their theme music hit, and have the crowd in Long Island cheer them.
Or boo, depending on alignment. They should get the.
Well, yeah, but it just goes with that. And if it means that, well, but what about having a good match between Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox instead of someone like Alicia Fox, Lana, or Dana Brooke? Fuck that. Alicia Fox, Lana, and Dana Brooke have every right to be on this show as much as any good wrestler does.
Right. And I see what I think you're like. I'm hoping like this isn't a one-time thing. I hope it's they go further with it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it be an annual thing, to be honest.
Yeah. If not even more than, annual, maybe 2 times, something.
Yeah.
Give the Tegan Knox and saying they'll get their time.
Yeah. Heck, they're already going to have NXT matches, so they may even be on the card. Because if you look at the NXT UK main roster, and the women from the Royal Rumble, that's about 50 women right there. So it's not like they're going to not be on the card. Just make sure the women on the main roster get their bow.
But I'm just glad it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And that was really all that was about Raw. It was about that show. And that was all it was.
Yeah, I spoke to you either late Monday or Tuesday. That if that's what Raw was going to be about, they could have done some of the other stuff later in the show next week.
Yeah. Well, I think that a big problem is that they probably wanted to do it because they thought if you say Evolution on this one, not as many people would complain that Roman Reigns is fighting Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam.
Oh, they're still good.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
That they're the same gripes about Evolution that were also griping about Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
It may have quieted some down, but there was still almost not equal. Like, damn, you never happy about anything?
Yeah. And that really could start with the SmackDown on it, because then you have the beginning of it as Randy Orton comes right out and says that it was all the fault of the whiny, entitled fans for why he turned on Jeff Hardy. And that was pretty much it. Orton went back to his face of the WWE gimmick as a heel, saying he hates the indie kids. And you can see it because I hate the indie kids is one of the most surefire heel gimmicks that's going on right now.
Yeah, WWE and somebody like Orton saying like, you're just a stupid indie kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a sure backfire.
Yeah, and I will say that
in a good way.
Yeah, and it's still a good thing because Randy Orton was on fire as the face of the WWE. If he can tap into that as a singles act, that'll be perfectly fine for his heel gimmick. So that was basically it. And of course you have Orton go after Jeff Hardy when you have AJ Styles and Samoa Joe fighting for the WWE title at WrestleMania. And of course, Randy Orton, who hates the indie kids, has no problem with that.
I got confused. I didn't watch live, but I was following the feed.
Yeah,
and it went from Ellsworth is facing Orton at SummerSlam for the championship. Like 5 minutes later, Ellsworth is fired from SmackDown. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And honestly, that's something where I'm not sure if it was a short-term deal, if it was what it was, or if it's even getting Ellsworth onto 205 Live, where he'd probably be a benefit to him.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a sneaking suspicion that Ellsworth is going to cost Becky at SummerSlam.
I could see that one, but I don't see how you do that one because if Ellsworth if Ellsworth costs Becky at SummerSlam, then you're pretty much prepping it for the Evolution pay-per-view having Becky Lynch, James Ellsworth too. And no man should be on the pit segment. If you have to have Ellsworth on it, he should be there. He should whine about all the things that the people hating on the pay-per-view are saying, and then he gets clobbered and eats finisher after finisher after finisher.
And I know our weekly discussion of the two matches. We're friends with a big Carmella fan and a big Becky Lynch fan. And they're both named Matt.
Yeah. And it was...
I think SummerSlam, Mel drops it to Becky. Sorry, I hear myself and reverb so bad. That's why I'm pausing.
Yeah. Well, I think that it works for Carmella and Becky in this one because they're going to need some good matches for Evolution. So they need Becky Lynch as the champion. They need someone to take the title off Alexa Bliss so that you have two really good matches as the title matches there. And right now, they serve their purpose. They're great heels, but you need good matches. And even if it is Becky Carmella, the Becky Carmella match was good. Becky's starting to fix that she works down to her opponent problem that she had always had, and Carmella worked up to her, so it's not like there's a problem there.
That would be a good where Becky comes in as champ. Like, I beat you at SummerSlam, Mel will reinvoke her, reinvoke her. Rematch clause Evolution.
Yeah.
And Becky still comes out on top.
Yeah. And that was solid because most of the women's matches made some sense on it. You have Becky beat Carmella for SummerSlam. Asuka beats Billie Kay in order to get her heat back on this one. And even with that, it's perfectly fine because I hate it as much as Matt might hate it, but the Iconics are worthwhile jobbers right now. They are comedy. They're a tag team, and tag teams always have, when you're separated from your partner on this one, you're a jobber, and they're charismatic enough they can get their heat back on the mic. That's the type of jobber you'd want right now.
Yeah. And that's been a long-going thing when it comes to tag teams. When you're in single competition, you're not as good as when you're with your partner.
Yeah. And that's really the big problem that's hurt tag team wrestling, that they've changed it where if two people are a pure tag team and they're with their partner, they're not as good as two heavyweights on it.
Right.
And that was a great thing for Mid-South, was where even if you had the champ and #1 contender fighting, they would lose to a middle of the pack tag team because the tag team was a more solid tag team.
The parts never equal the sum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the cases where they have to have good parts that equal the sum. Speaking of which, Andrade Cien Almas beats Rusev, and we see the start of the breakup of Rusev Day. And I have no clue why that would happen. I mean, is it that important to have Rusev on his own, to have Lana on his own, to have as Aiden English go back to being a jobber? Really, this is another. The whole is better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah. It's mystifying with some of the things that are. We saw the writing on the wall at Extreme Rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also saw the writing on the wall because the fans chant Rusev Day for every match on the Extreme Rules card, except Rusev's match.
Right.
So that is the weakness, and I thought that Rusev Day wasn't just a dank meme when Lana got over as a babyface, even though she's not very good in the ring. She's not very good otherwise, and she's not very popular as a person on it. But she's a babyface because of this. I thought it was over, but Extreme Rules proved nope, just a dank meme.
Just weird.
Yeah. And that was basically the problem, where it was all solid, but there was nothing really spectacular on it. Like when the signature moment out of the show would be Daniel Bryan has a doll thrown at him, like in the Broken Saga. That was pretty much the only other talkable thing from SmackDown. It was solid, but it was what it was.
We're talking about the Miz throwing
the
baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's a doll.
Yeah. Yeah, which is probably good on it, because I don't think they could sell Miz and Missers if Miz would use his newborn daughter as a projectile at a guy he dislikes. He's not Snitsky here.
Duh.
Mm-hmm.
Have they actually announced Miz versus Bryan at SummerSlam?
I think they've made it clear it's going to happen, but they haven't announced it officially. And really, it's perfectly fine on it because, again, we just need to know what's going to happen there, so... It's just a case where, with Daniel Bryan, there was nothing really in it, but the fans really want it to happen, and the fans hate one guy in it to the point that they just want to see him lose, and they want to see one guy be the one to do it. Which brings us to the biggest thing from NXT this week, as we have a new NXT champion. And we don't usually talk about NXT that much, but this was big.
When the NXT Championship changes hands at Full Sail during a taping.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we had to keep under wraps because we don't want to deal with spoilers on it, but now we no longer have to. Tommaso Ciampa is your new NXT champion. And this is actually a great thing if you think about it. Remember, 10 years ago, Tommaso Ciampa was so depressed that he lost his WWE developmental deal that he attempted suicide. He was in a dark place at the time, but he went back to the indie scene. He became a talented performer in Ring of Honor. He became a standout there. He made it back to a national scale. He got his WWE developmental deal back, and he fought and became a great character to the point that now he's got his deal back and he's the champion that says he's the top prospect in NXT. And this is a good thing for anybody. If you have depression, take that depression and beat it and keep beating it and keep beating it as everybody thinks you're going to get the call up, and keep beating it and keep beating it and keep beating it as it looks up to you and says, why are you doing this to me? I'm your depression. And keep beating it and keep beating it. And while you're injured with an ACL tear, you keep talking about how you beat it on Twitter. And when you're ready to come back, beat your depression further and further as it has a chance to win the big one. And keep beating it further and further and never let go of it. And fuck you, Ciampa, you inspirational, unbelievable motherfucker.
How dare you besmirch a face like that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know on this one, where at the very least we have Johnny Gargano as being the cause of Ciampa as champion.
And that's such a real quick, like, if any of you know me outside of just hearing my voice, I also suffer from severe depression.
Yes, same here. So we can see the benefits of Ciampa's rise to the top again.
yeah, like that's why he'll, just because we know what he went through
Hmm.
and now we're here. Like, I know, not storyline wise, but where we
Yeah.
are. Like, dude, that's such a face thing to me, like
Hmm.
inspirational, if you will. Like,
Yeah.
I know you're supposed to say "fuck you, Champa." I
Hmm.
get all that, but I've been in those shoes, and for
Yep.
him to be in a better place now, hopefully, like that, I like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Gargano, just to how the match went, it was Aleister Black versus Ciampa,
Hmm.
and things started happening. Gargano came out. There was a ref bomb. Um, Ciampa tried to cheat a little bit. Gargano came to actually help Black. Ended up costing Black the match,
Hmm.
and here we are, Tommaso Ciampa as the new NXT champion, and Aleister Black no longer the champion, and Johnny Gargano being the reason why.
Yeah. And this really is the question on it because, in retrospect, Aleister Black's loss of the title doesn't makes it weird. Is he going to go up soon? And if he does go up, has his title reign being overshadowed by the Gargano Ciampa feud turned a hot prospect like Aleister Black into 205 Live fodder?
I hope not.
Mm-hmm.
I will. Since the feud, since the turn,
Yeah.
Ciampa Gargano has overshadowed anything that's happened in NXT, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
and
that's been,
actually, the fact that Gargano caused Ciampa the win will be the question mark for Brooklyn because we know that Gargano's a great baby face and he can make Ciampa into the most evil human being alive, and that's good. But Gargano versus Black is a pretty interesting matchup because does Gargano turn Aleister Black, who's always he's a good babyface, but you could easily see him become a bad guy as well, just by how he carries himself, just by his
yeah,
no one's truly good, no one's truly evil gimmick. You could see him be a bad guy as well. But if you look at Black versus Gargano, technically right now, Gargano's the asshole in that feud because he cost Black the world title.
exactly. Like, it's more so not in this situation of alignment. It's more so of, you cost me my championship. I worked hard for that championship.
Yeah.
I don't care about the motives behind it. And Black, before it, specifically said, Gargano, do not do not help.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do
Yeah.
anything. Whatever
Yeah,
happens,
more than
happens.
just
But
the
you
championship.
keep your ass in the
Was
back,
this
and
Black's first
Gargano didn't
loss?
listen.
Mhm. Yeah, but it does go to that question where right now it seems like it's a little out of whack. Where you have Johnny Gargano, the pure face, Tommaso Ciampa, the pure heel, and Aleister Black, who's a natural tweener. And technically, right now, Black's the pure face, Gargano's the pure tweener, and Ciampa's the pure heel. So really, it just gets a little weird from those ones. But really, this is one of the cases where this might be a shorter episode than normal, but since Mox is still sick on it, it was easier to get a short one on it. But since so much stuff happened this week, we really couldn't just take the time to recuperate. So we're gonna go off a little bit early tonight so that Mox can recuperate. Until then, I'm Thomas S.K. Green. This is Prince Moxley Lopez, and this is Whacked Out Wrestling.
Take it easy, guys. Peace out.
Yep.